Well, Ulysses, we continue our 2023 Rays Player Review Series with the one, the only, Randy Arozarena.
The man with the infamous celebration of 2023. Let's talk about him right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. All right, we kicked off our 2023 player review series with Tyler Glasnow, given that he seems to likely be traded at some point. And we continue that with another guy who has trade rumors swirling about, although we hope he isn't traded unless the Rays get a whole heck of a lot in return for him. I'm sure we'll discuss that later on in this episode. But first, we have to review the play of Randy, what he did well in 2023, what he didn't do well in 2023, and his future with the team, as well as a final grade for him. So, Ulysses, Randy, what did you like about his play this past season?
Well, for those that don't have his numbers right in front of him, he had a slash line of 254, 364, 425. That's good for a 789 OPS. He has yet again done a 20-20 seasons. That's 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases for the third consecutive year. He had 23 bombs and 22 stolen bases. When you look at the positives for him, that first half he had, which, I know in baseball we do first half, second half. It's really not a half, people. It's probably more apt to say pre-All-Star game and then post-All-Star game.
It's like a 60%, 40% breakdown of games, give or take.
So in that All-Star half, in 376 plate appearances, he had a slash line of like 279, 388, 467. That's an 855 OPS, 16 home runs, 92 Ks. He was killing it. Again, like you guys know, he went to the All-Star game. He had a tremendous catch in the first inning. He got a hit. He started the game. Like, those were just accolades that you saw him in the global stage earlier with the World Baseball Classic, just enjoying himself and doing what he does best, which is succeed in the brightest of lights. And then he just put together that first quote unquote half just the same way. I mean, he was just incredible those first few months.
Yeah, he really was. And at the end of the day, this is an entertainment business, and Randy provides a lot of entertainment from what he did in the World Baseball Classic, continuing that into the 2023 regular season, putting the spotlight on the Rays. We know the whole arms cross gesture, the RandyLand campaign, which had a bunch of success and I'm sure positive economic impact for the organization as well. So he is a franchise player, franchise cornerstone. He is the type of guy that even if you're not a hardcore baseball fan, a casual, maybe not even a sports fan at all, you may have heard of Randy Arozarena, which in and of itself provides a lot of equity and added value to this team.
Yeah, completely. One of the things that I did see, which was impressive, was the walk rate, though. If we want to get
that was really boosted up this year.
The walk rate is impressive. You look back with his time with the Rays, it's been hovering around 8%, 9%, 7%. And then this year, it jumped to 12.2% without really changing that much of the strikeout rate. In fact, the strikeout rate has been going down as well. So this is just, if you want to, I think that with these player reviews, we try to not only give you stats, but kind of like put the stats together into a picture. The picture here is Randy Arozarena becoming a more mature hitter.
It may be a more mature player as well, based on the base running metrics and numbers. I know he still had a lot of caught stealings and outs on the bases, but it wasn't maybe as egregious as the previous season. At the end of the day, he's always looking to take the extra base, which puts pressure on defenders and pitchers and catchers, and you got to force them to make good throws. And Randy sometimes plays with death, but he makes the game interesting, which is something you can't say for a lot of other players out there. But yeah, you mentioned it, the walk rate, the strikeout rate's still a little high, but hey, that's the name of the game in this era of baseball. But what I really liked about Randy, besides you mentioned the 2020 season and him playing 151 games, there were just some other really big moments. I mean, how many walk-offs and end of game moments did he put forth? I don't have the count off the top of my head, but about a handful, I would say, at least.
I'm pretty sure it's more than 3, or it's right at 3. Like it's, and that might not seem a lot to a casual baseball fan, but to have 3 walk-off hits in a season, that's pretty cool. It's having the game on the line. It's having that so much pressure in that particular moment, and then being able to come through. I know the stat nerds don't like the clutch word, but there is something about clutch, because then you're basically saying that anatomically it's not possible to have some people being able to lower their pulse to be a little bit more calm than others, and that's just fake. That's just not true. That people can do that, and people have that ability, and those are the people that are going to succeed. And Randy Arozarena has shown time and time again that he can do that under the brightest lights. He did it in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, which is the biggest stage in national baseball and in world baseball, right? And then he has been doing it continuously in postseason. This postseason, Kevin, in 8 plate appearances, he hit for a 500 average, a 1250 OPS. Like, he shows up when the team needs him, when the lights are brightest. That's when he's on. That's when he succeeds the most.
Yeah, and you need more. You take him out of the equation, what's the postseason roll-up going to be in 2024, 2025, and beyond. So there's that. What I also liked is, if you look at his spray chart, pretty much an all-fields approach. I know some of those walk-offs were like base hits the other way. Yeah. That squeeze in between the first, second baseman and the right fielder and center fielder, I guess. But, some other things too that really stuck out to me. I know he only had, 20 or so home runs, but some of those home runs were monster shots. Especially, the fastball, we know he can feast on them, but when he has an opportunity to turn on one and really put his whole body on it and shoot it into the upper deck, that really is, it makes a statement. But, it's kind of fun as well seeing him, he can go down and you have a fastball below the knees and he can still shoot it out for a homer, or he has a breaking ball and he shoots it out the other way for a homer. So that's some exciting stuff as well.
He has incredible strength in those wrists, like you're saying, like a ball down below, and then he can just look like he was fooled, and yet that ball is gone. In fact, StatCast has this metric for types of home runs, and the no doubters, which is a home run that would be gone in all 30 parks. Right. Out of his 23 home runs, 10 were no doubters. So what, 44%, 43% of his home runs were going to get out no matter what. So he was impressive. And one last thing I think I have for him.
Yeah, and when there are no doubter with Randy, because he does have a little swag and pizzazz to his name, where once crack of the bat is made and he makes a little pause, drop of the bat, and little step forward, that, okay, that one's not going to be caught.
You know what? This wasn't my last thing that I'm going to say, but I'll add it just because of that comment. His average home run trot has gone from 19.8 with the Cardinals in 2019 to 23 seconds to 25.2 seconds to 25.9 seconds. And this year, it's a 29.3 seconds. So yes, he is taking his time around the bases. It's
an entertainment business. Some you could look at it, oh my gosh, just play the game. But it sells tickets. It gets jersey sales going. He is he only has a limited time to make his brand known and to capitalize on it. Why not if you have an opportunity?
Why not? Why not? And so, okay, so now the last thing I'm going to say is he is a little bit older in age lately. You know, he is getting older like all of us are. And I believe he's going to be 31 when he becomes a free agent. So right now he's at 28, but by the time the season starts, he'll be 29 years old. That affects your legs, your age as you age, and we know that he's a dynamic player, and how a lot of his good things that he does on the field comes with that speed. In fact, you were talking about the base running; it did improve. He had a BSR of 1.8, which is really good. Now, the speed, it has gone down from, I believe, 93rd percentile in 2020, which was the first year with the race. And this year, he's at the 78th percentile. So a lot of people will be like, well, man, he's losing it. He's not as fast as he once was. Like, trade him now, trade him, sell. Well, if you just look a little bit further, in 2020, when he was in the 93rd percentile, he was going 28.8 feet per second. In 2023, he's going 28.4 feet per second. So people, this is not like the guy has just decreased his sprint speed at all. By 0.4 seconds, he's still a very fast player. It might mean that, more youth is involved in the game, and there are, the Gunnar Hendersons and the Corbin Carrolls of the world are being injected into the league. Fine. But he himself has not really decreased into a point where you're like, oh, well, he's just an ancient player now.
Right. Yeah. And I know that, we can talk about the speed and also the defense. I know there is some talk about him maybe losing a step out there in the field. But, I mean, you look at some highlights from this past season, there were still many plays of him charging in and making a stop, or making an amazing diving play down the line, taking away runs, extra base hits, or sacrificing his body at the wall to make a catch. So those are some things that also have to be pointed out. And, whether or not he is losing a step with his legs, he's making up for it and seemingly gaining in terms of his strength and power, because he had the highest exit velocity and max exit velocity of his career, as well as the highest launch angle. So we're starting to see some transformations in Randy as far as that goes. So those are the positives for Randy. We'll get to some of the negatives, but first we have to tell you this. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right this very moment. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So go ahead and visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, LOCKEDON, to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, they are the official partner of the NFL. All right, Ulises, we touched on the positives of Randy. There were a lot of them from 2023. Now, some of the not so good with him from this past season.
Well, I like to point out the first half, quote unquote. Let's point out the second half. Post All-Star game, it was a rough time for Randy. For Randy's numbers, he went in 278 plate appearances. He had a slash line of 220, 331, and 369 slug. That's a 700 OPS on the nose. Only 7 home runs, 64 Ks. The K rate just increased, as you can see in that second half. Now, I believe I have a theory on what this all entailed. July was his worst month by a long shot. That's when the team was going through basically the worst time, the worst month in franchise history, like even Devil Rays included, right? We saw awful results in July for Rays baseball. I think there was like a big sigh in Randy's mind, and he just needed a break.
Yeah.
Like, he had been going since March, people, so at a very high caliber level. Okay, so
Yeah.
early March, not like late March where you're being substituted in the 4th inning because you had your 2 at bats. Nah, dude was putting in work for the Mexican national baseball team. So I just think that by the time that mid-July was done with the post All-Star game, I think his body was like, bro, let's chill because we gotta reserve some energy. And I think he did that. I think maybe a mental break, maybe a physical break, but it just wasn't the same for him.
Yeah. And he really didn't get much of a mental or physical break in July because you had the whole pomp and circumstance of the All-Star game and the All-Star break and the home run derby. So for him, it was still go, go, go. It's not like he had 3 or 4 days to rest, recover, and hang out with family and friends for a couple of days. So he really has been, like you say, going hard since early March, and even before that when you get into the training as well. So it's really understandable to see why, okay, yeah, he would have a 482 OPS in July and then struggle in September, and really post All-Star break wasn't indicative of who Randy is as a player, although he turned it on in those couple playoff games. So no, I think, and you wonder if, the home run derby, putting on a show, and that is such a adrenaline rush, and so mentally and physically and maybe emotionally exhausting, that you maybe need several days, if not weeks, to get on track after something like that. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that we've heard that, somebody participates or wins in the home run derby and then their season basically goes kaput after that.
Yeah, no, it's an exhausting event. And especially when I know he did not win it. He got to the finals, but
a lot of swings, a lot of high impact swings.
He had the most home runs in the event total. Yeah. Okay, so like it just makes sense that just the whole first half, including that home run derby, just kind of like caused him to either miss his swing a little bit, but just be tired mentally. Like there was so much exhaustion. So that's my theory on the poor second half numbers. Another thing that I had during the Locked On Race OGs, everydayers will know this. I had a theory about the lineup construction between Wander Franco and Randy Arozarena and the whole fighting thing, and how Cash started to go, instead of having him bat second and third with Wander and Randy back to back after the fight, you guys can go back and see my conspiracy theory on that, and how he split them, Wander hitting second and then Randy hitting fourth. Well, that was an awful idea of hitting Randy fourth, because he is not Randy Arozarena when he hits fourth. If you compare the slash lines of him batting third and fourth, take a look. By the way, they're almost at the same amount of plate appearances. Batting third, 269 plate appearances. Batting fourth, 293. So about the same sample size. But look at the difference in slash lines. Batting third, 284 batting average. Batting fourth, 210. On base, 387 to 321. Slugging, 476 to 347. And now the OPS, 863 to 668. Night and day. Night and completely. So you can talk about protection, who's hitting behind him in the fifth spot, who's hitting behind him in the fourth spot. Was Brendan Lau hitting behind him? So is he protecting him? Was he not healthy, and that's why he's hitting fourth? And then there's nobody really in the fifth spot. We can get into all that. But I just feel like it's so blatant that you cannot have Randy hitting fourth. You have to have him third. But a lot of his at-bats this year came batting fourth, and they were in the second half.
And maybe that's the reason why, he had the lowest slugging percentage of his career. And I know he got BABIP'd a little bit this season, but he only had 19 doubles. Compare that to the prior two seasons of 41 and 32. When I think of Randy, I think of 2020, but also, at least 20 doubles,
Yeah.
maybe 25, 30, 35 doubles. So that's something to monitor and watch going forward. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily a negative or a positive or where exactly what category you'd put it in, but he was hit by a lot of pitches this year, 18. And maybe some of that is because of his celebratory, his antics, his shock and show value. And you just hope that it doesn't get to a point where he gets hurt by one of those pitches that, whether it's targeted at him or mistake, or maybe he's crowding the plate too much. But a jump from 11 to 18 is pretty noticeable. So I'll just put that out there. The other thing too, with as far as a negative angle, and again, I touched on this in the positives actually, but the defense, the metrics do not like him defensively. Savant has him in the 6th percentile in fielding run value. FanGraphs has him as a negative 10.7 in their defensive metric. I did not look up his defensive runs saved, but that's basically what it is. The analytics do not like his defense, despite some really awesome highlights in play.
Yeah, well, in left field, his DRS in 2023 is at a +4. So, again, we've always had that issue with, the differences between defensive metrics not really, liking the same player. We've had that discussion with Taylor Walls and all that. I think both of us kind of agree, like, defensive metrics are there. Look at them, but don't believe 100% of them. Like, they're good to just kind of, peruse. But obviously he makes outstanding plays. It seems like the routes might not be the most efficient at times. It feels like sometimes, like for the example, that Orioles game that might have cost the Rays at least the tiebreaker in the division, when Gunnar Henderson hit that, and the lollygagging. Like, you never see that from Randy, and that was an odd day. Like, what happened? Maybe just his mind wasn't in the game, and then the lollygag throw as well. Like, those
There's
things
some little things
cost you. Yeah. So, and I think this is not either a positive or negative. I mean, you can look at it as a positive of the team, but negative in Randy. He was 7th in team WRC plus, 7th. Okay. And he was 4th or 5th tied in F4 in the team. So you can look at it as a positive, like, oh, well, the team is so good that Randy's 4th, 5th in WAR and 7th team WRC plus. Like, it's stacked. But you can also look at it like, damn, Randy's 7th in WRC plus. Like, what happened? But if you look at his numbers, particularly, his WRC plus is pretty stable his whole career. So it's not like he's been going down. In 2021, 127. The next year, 124. This year, 126. So he's stable. So I guess you could really just not even talk about it negatively, but just as a positive for the team.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So, and maybe that's what the Rays are looking at, where, hey, finish 7th WRC plus, we're going to pay him $9-10 million in arbitration. I don't think so. And that gets to the next point of his future with the team. And I'm just going to ask you blankly, flat out, will Randy Arozarena be a Tampa Bay Ray by opening day 2024?
I have no doubt that he will be a Tampa Bay Ray in 2024. Have no doubt, 0 doubt. He's not. And one of my biggest factors is something that you said very early on this episode and that we have hammered on. Randy makes money for the Rays. Randy makes money for the Rays. So yeah, you might be paying him $9 million, but the RandyLand, whoever came up with that, bravo. You just made yourself a money printing machine, because people will go to RandyLand. They had a broadcast in RandyLand. They had Dwayne and BA in RandyLand. It's a fantastic thing. I feel like just that factor alone gives such an edge to Randy not, being traded. I know that his name is being floated around there, but I just don't see it. I do believe he's going to be a Ray.
And I'll say this, like you mentioned earlier in this episode as well, he won't be a free agent until 2027. So I would be under the impression that if he is able to replicate more or less what he's done the last 3 seasons in 2024, the Rays can also say, okay, we're really not comfortable paying him 12, 13, 14 million dollars, whatever he would be owed in 2025 arbitration. He still has a couple years of control. He still has value that we can capitalize on him. Then maybe that's where you make the turn in the trade, in the move there. And I would just think that, look, you can't believe all the rumors that are being swirled. X team is interested, Y team's interested, Z team's interested. Well, why not? I mean, who wouldn't be interested in Randy Arozarena? Come on, that's natural.
And every team has now seen what RandyLand does, and you don't think that the team that would trade him and get him, they would not immediately start a RandyLand? Come on, let's be serious. Of course that they would. Now, you talk about the Rays and money, and I know Evan has kind of tried to put our buddy Evan Klosky, that it's not always about the money, and to a certain extent I know where he's coming from. But let's talk about money. $9 million for a guy who has now put 3 seasons around 3 WAR. There's nothing better in baseball as a front office that knowing that a guy is stable, knowing that a guy is going to put constant numbers, knowing that at the end of the day, at the end of the day, knowing his numbers are going to be there. That's Randy Arozarena, and he posts for $9 million, which, by the way, around $9 million equals 1 WAR. This is a bargain. It's a steal. So that's another reason.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's something that we really didn't touch on, is the fact the games played. 139 games in left field, 12 at DH, with being amenable to, sitting a day and just having your bat in the lineup 3, 4, 5 times in a game. Does showcase itself a little bit, because not everybody can handle that role of being on the bench the entire game, except for a couple plate appearances. So I agree with you there. And here's the thing: all the Rays have to do, trade Manny Margot. You got another $1 million to play with. That's $10 million off the books. You can pay that to Randy. Where Randy, he already made $4.5 million, well, $4.15 million this past season. So you're ahead if you're the Rays after trading Manny Margot. Really, you could trade Harold Ramirez and still be okay. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. I would definitely lean towards Randy being on the team more so than Tyler Glasnow being on the team, but
that doesn't tell me that much. Kevin, put your hand on the fire.
Yeah, fine. I'll go a little bit different. I'll be the bad guy. I'll say that Randy is not on the team opening day 2024. Not saying it's a good decision, but maybe I've got too many. Maybe I've gone too much far down the rabbit hole and down the conspiracy theories and too much Twittering or Xing and MLB trade rumoring. Okay. And it's just eaten me up inside, and I've been brainwashed. The Randy trade propaganda has gotten to me.
What? Okay, give us a percentage, because I just said he will definitely be there.
Okay,
100%.
I will say,
what is the percentage.
Okay, I will say 60% chance he is not on the opening day roster in 2024.
That's fair enough. And you know what? There's only one thing left to do, Kevin. And that is to take out your red pen. What do you, Kevin Weiss, grade Randy Arozarena's 2023 season?
Okay, I'm going to add up the actual numbers. I'm going to add up the fact that he played in an all-star game, home run derby, Team Mexico, RandyLand, the home run trots, the pose, everything. I'm giving him a solid A. That's 95. That's what I have in store for him.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to just dock a couple points. I'm going 93. I think again, solid A. He passed the course. He knew exactly what he was doing. Just the second half drop off did affect my final grading. But everything else, I mean, I think one of the things we should have put a little bit more light on is the fact that this guy just posts, man. Like that cannot be a thing that you take for granted. 141 games, 153 games, 151 games. That is worth a lot.
Yeah. You can't say that about Brandon Lau.
Nope.
Unfortunately.
Nope.
You can't say that about Wander Franco for one reason or another.
Nope.
Yeah. You can't say that about a lot of guys. So good for him on that front. All right. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later on this week.